Hello, Jeanne.
Hello, Sylvain. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for accepting to do this interview together. And we do this series of interviews for the library of the CTA. So it's an archiving of interviews about teachers, Continuum teachers,
Yeah.
and about what they do, what they like to do, how they love to share the work of Continuum with people, with other, and everything they can contribute to our world, our culture,
Oh,
our body somatic culture, with a wonderful gift that is Continuum. So, Jane or
yes.
Jeanne?
Jeanne.
Jeanne.
It's actually French. You know that?
Yes, yes. So please, can you just say some words about you, where you live, and what you do with Continuum and other things?
And other things as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I live in Denmark
Mhm.
and I'm a Rolfer and I was educated in 90. And through my Rolf Institute, I met Continuum at a conference,
Mhm.
and Susan Harper was introduced Continuum, and I have joined that course. I didn't know what it was. I was totally, you know,
You do it.
I tried, and then I was totally in defense because as a Scandinavian we are not very fun, we are not very happy for sounding and be loud and all that stuff. We are more a little bit backward and like that, and here we have to make sounding and turn around and all that stuff, and she could do a lot with her stomach, and I was totally like that. So it was, I don't know, I was so defensive. But anyway, I was there for 2 days. You are a polite person, so you stay on and stay on. And then I could feel afterward how wonderful it was for my body. How, how I was so, how to say that? It was so relaxing for my body and my soul and my mind. I mean, I came home and I felt so good.
Mhm.
So I knew that I had to go for this. I
Okay.
just had to go for that
Mhm.
because it was something different and it did something different to me. And I just have to search for what it was. Even though I knew I had a lot of defense system like this and all that. And that's where I started, and that's where I met Continuum. And I think it was in 96 or something like that.
Mhm.
And then she came again and she did something with the movement teacher Hubert Godard from French, actually.
Yeah.
And I joined that and I joined it again. And then Kim Brody was coming to Norway.
Mhm.
And then I went to Norway for a lot of Kim's workshops.
Okay.
And of course, my friend Tone
Mhm.
from Norway,
Yeah.
we decided to go to Emmeline at least.
Yeah.
Before I went to Emmeline, I was very scared to meet this lady. She
Mhm.
was very powerful, and I thought and she is, but that was a little bit scary to go on those retreat on 7 days and 10 days, and I was a little bit scared about that.
Mhm.
So Tone and me decided to go to United States for 5 weeks. So we did that
Wow.
and
Mhm.
follow Emmeline, and it was the best thing I ever done in my life. I have to say it. I felt that my Rolfing, my Rolf movement, everything I have done up till now,
Mhm.
and all my my therapy, my supervision, all those things I have done to improve my life and me and all that was kind of merged together in a wonderful I get touched. Because it was so strong for me. It was like everything came together, and I didn't have any words for it, but it was like it was in my tissue or whatever.
Like a reawakening of something that
was so
very
original.
powerful.
Yeah, so original. And all the things that she said, Emmeline, even though it's not my language, and she used some of her own language, you know, she makes some language up.
Yes.
And it was pretty sophisticated language as well. But it didn't matter. It was like my body was just catching the things she was presenting. And the one thing she presented that did a very big impression on me was that we all want to be connected, and we all want to be united, and we are all united to a bigger universe. And it was like, then I was not alone anymore. It was very how to say that, it was just something that was so it was so much into my cell, what she said. And
give you a sense of belonging,
yeah,
to the world, to something larger.
Yeah, bigger than me, and we
Yeah.
belong all together. And it was just that I could lean into something that was bigger than me, and I don't know, it was fantastic. So, and I still think that I kept that inside of me. Oh, yeah, in that sense. I have done a lot of Buddhist training as well, and meditated and all that. And you sit still on a chair. Here, it was like my whole body, my whole fluid system was into this bigger something. And she didn't put any religion on it. She didn't put any, all that. It was my own inner, it was my own inner belief system. There was so much inspired and opening up and all that stuff. So it was a very big trip for me. And she said that I was allowed to teach it when I come back home. And I have never taught before. So, and I just it was like, oh, I got the, you should try this. Everybody should try that. I also had that when I become a Rolfer. I think everybody should be Rolf. We will get a better world with everybody was in their body and get Rolf and all that. So I had the same feeling here. So that was pretty big for me. So I started to teach, and it was something, because I felt you have to lay down and show, the sounding and the body, how it works and all that. And I was so shy. I mean, I get red in my head, and I think I was very naked. But in a way, it was also a nakedness that was, we all have, if you know, it was like, we all have this.
A truth, something very true about oneself.
Yeah. So it was like, I worked with that to have the God to show who I was, in also where I didn't even know who I was. I mean, who knows what's in and connected, and who knows. So I started my journey there. So and it was big for me, I have to say. And then
Sounds like it changed your life, this trip in America. Yeah.
It did. It totally changed my work as a Rolfer, my personality. I don't know. People have to say, but I felt that way. And then I start to teach and learn how to teach. It's a learning, because you have to hold the group, the energy, all that stuff. And so I started to get some training in another kind of therapy training, to be better to hold the group, and to how to teach this difficult material, because it's like you don't tell people you have to do this, this, and this, and this. It's like go in, you have those things you can play with, and then go in and see what there is underneath, or
Yeah.
whatever. So it's not exercise, it's not from A to B to C. It's, and you don't have to understand it. It's very, but it's so embodied, I
Mhm.
think. And it's and it can shows up in many different ways. I mean, you come into something that's very hurtful, you come into something that's very big and heartful, and you meet all those places.
Yes.
And I think it's incredible what this work can do.
Yeah. But you have to be ready to meet those places, and you have
Yeah,
to be ready to also take your own responsibility and your own to really go with it's yourself. Like, as you said very, very clearly, it's not like you have to do like an external thing, like an exercise. You don't have to feel in the dot, but you really have to create the story. And so you have to know that you are the one who is creating the story and
yeah,
creating this experience, and that's not so easy sometimes for people. We
no,
all know that as teacher, that it's not
yeah, yeah, yeah.
easy. Some people have difficulties because they are people or the culture taught them, teach them how to learn and how to move in through life and through experience. But this is a very different position.
It's so different. And I mean, I have been all those places as well when it was tough, where I had a defense system up, and where I met, old trauma, old things, old stories, old something I have forgot, something I thought I had worked with, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we have all been there. Once I was on some of the first courses, some of the first retreats with Emmeline, I think I cried for 7 days.
Ah,
I think I cried, literally, I cried for 7 days.
wow.
And what was fantastic was there was the group, but nobody was curdling me.
Mhm.
I felt I have the space to be there and not be alone. It was
Mhm.
like this funny thing that you were seen,
Mhm.
but you also have the space just to be sad, or all those things that went through. So, I mean, we have all been in the painful places,
Yeah.
and
Listening
it's not
to,
all.
no, sorry,
Yeah, come
uh,
on.
listening to you, I feel like almost like these 5 weeks in the States and all the process that brought you to Continuum is almost like an initiation of a transformation that's very deep, and that brought you to another level of being in your life or whatever.
She brought me to another no, not her, but the way she was allowing me to come to another place. And she said that very clearly once. She said she once had a teacher that was allowing people to grow their own things up, and she said that that was her purpose with us, like allowing us and support us to, yeah, to enter this place or whatever.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
So in that sense, I think she was pretty fantastic. Yeah.
yes, yes.
I love her deeply.
Yes, yes, we all do. So I just want to come back. You said something in the beginning of this interview about the Scandinavian culture, or that something a little bit um, retrieved or a bit cautious, maybe in the culture. So what brought you, from what kind of background or family are you coming from? What brought you to Rolfing and then Continuum? What was your personal quest in that
Oh yeah.
embodiment process in this culture? So if you can say a few words about that.
Yeah. I it's a long. I will try to make it short. I'm the big sister of 7 children,
Mhm.
so in a, I took care of them. And then I live in a community, got 2 children myself and have a husband. I was living in a community where we thought that if the community could grow, we could do a better world, show that we could live together. I'm 65. So I'm an old hippie in a way. Oh, you know, so we were trying this, have all this, and then we had a factory and we have gardening and we were growing all those things, all those ideas for a better world, actually. Yeah. And then I went into a big crisis in my life. I was in the late 20s, I think, and I went into a big crisis. I wanted to do something more with my life. I want to do something else, something more bigger. I need to come out of this. There was some urge inside of me. Mm-hmm. And then my husband didn't want to go with that, so I had to leave, and that was very painful because you also have some own culture in you, you know, mom, dad, and children, even though you live differently. We were living outside the country and so on. So it was painful, but and I was in a big crisis, and that's where I went to a therapist training for 3 years. And then because I have to work on all those issues that was coming up, and then after a year, we come back for a holiday, and then I saw somebody that was being robbed. And then I said, what have you done? I could just see her body was different, and I didn't know what. I just felt and saw that she was so different, and the way she was doing the therapy was so different from, I mean, we were more, also, it's just to say it short. And then she said she was being robbed. So I said, what the hell is that? And she tried to explain that it's something you do with your hands and the fascia and all that. And then I just heard myself, I have to be that. That's what I want. So that's it. And then I heard myself, and then I had to prepare all that. I was dyslexic, so I had to learn a lot. So I did all that, and then I went to United States for a year. Wow. And you know, everybody said, oh, you are a bad mother, you leave your children, you do that, blah, 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 blah. And I was there for a year. I went home and visited my children because it was very tough to leave your children. Yeah. They were teenage, they were 15 and 17 years. They didn't want to go with me. They want to stay. So I had to leave them, and then I wasn't a mother. I wasn't, you know, in a community anymore. I was just totally alone. So that was my journey. So it was like being in the desert and be totally alone and don't have any image, don't have nothing. I mean, I was just going for this journey to become a writer. And I think because I love the freedom, I love my freedom, I love I just love my freedom. To get free and to get free of all this, to get free of all the cultural stuff. Yeah. I actually got free of a lot of cultural stuff with going away for so long. Yeah. What my family expected, what my friends expected, well, everything. So I was actually cutting a lot. Except my children, of course, and my family, but in many ways, yes. So I was, it was tough.
Yes, but you know, it sounds like you had to almost get out of the skin of that cultural body to get into the role thing and to Continuum. So it's almost like a rebirth into your own freedom. Maybe it's.
I've never seen it that way. That's nice when you present it like that. It's actually right. Yeah.
Like almost shading your skin, like the snake shade the skin, the cultural stuff. So you can really go into your body and be in your body, and it's a new body because it's a body that is more free than it was before. Wow, I think that's a very big inspiration. I think for people, I think there is such an emergency and an urge to be able to do that. To how do we go out of sometimes this very powerful armor of beliefs and conditioning, cultural conditioning. And I think many people maybe that are watching us feel that this urge and how to do that. And I think it's a beautiful example what you described, how through Rolfing and then through Continuum you can actually take this path into your own body and in like have a different way to be present in your life.
Yeah. It's painful. It was very painful sometimes.
Yeah.
And you feel so alone in a
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
many times. Yeah. So, and I think that when meeting with the Continuum community was very, very nice for me, because I feel, of course, there's not so big ego in the community, and I feel we are very supportive. I feel the people I connect with, at least, but I feel the community is very supportive, and they're not big egos in the same way as the Rolfers. I don't hope they hear it, but that's how it is. The Rolfers as well, but I feel more connected to the Continuum community. And I also think, because both the Rolf Institute was in America, the Continuum is in America, I don't feel it's far away, so I still have my freedom in a way. It's not, Denmark is a very small country, and if I don't get out traveling, I feel I get locked down of the culture. So for me, it's very important to have this, to come out.
Yeah. So my next question is, how, when you got the Rolfing training, and then you became a Rolfer, and then the Continuum, how was it received in Denmark? How could you connect with this work, which probably was very pioneering at that time?
Yeah, Rolfing was as well very.
Yeah.
I think we were 3 Rolfers or something when I become a Rolfer.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the beginning with the Continuum, it was new, and I don't think I didn't have the skills as I have now.
Yeah.
But I did it, and they took it. But but some people stay on, and they're still. But a lot of people just tried. It was only I did a couple of hours every evening in 5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
No, every Tuesday in 5 weeks, or like that. And it's tough to do it like that. It's easier to do retreats or a whole day or 2 days or something like that. But I did, and then I start to put some. I felt that people got too spacey. It was because before I how to say, it was an experiment. So I was looking for how to get them more grounded when they get out of the door. And then I start to do some Rolf movement with the people. So I start to mix the Rolf movement with the Continuum in a way. And then I was mentored by Emmeline, and she said, I don't like that. Don't do that, Jeanne. This is totally Continuum, She was pretty tough. But then okay, Emmeline, you are in United States, I'm in Denmark. I have to try what feels good to me.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I make a lot of experiments with the people, with my classes. And some people actually follow me, and they still follow. That's so incredible. And then I found, and I was studying also with Peter Levine when I become a Rolfer. I've studied with Bonnie Bainbridge on and off. I've studied with authentic movement with Jane, and for different kind of things, and all that stuff. So I find a way to put something together, and now I have developed fascial flow, and it's a combination of all those things, because I think that what I saw with Continuum, if I only have them 2 hours, is different from if you have them the whole day. Then you can let people go afterwards. But with the Rolf movement, they get some structure, they get some if the arm is sitting like this, you can turn the arm back and you can do something to keep it where it has to be.
Mhm.
So your posture become better and your tone, the
Mhm.
tonus you have
Mhm.
become better. So so I make a combination with the softness, the fluid, and you know the fascia has 80% of fluid in it.
Mhm.
So when we do continuum, we actually it's very much into the fascia as well.
Mhm.
But here I make a structure out of it. I think it's the easiest way to do it.
Mhm.
And for me, it's also nurturing
Mhm.
all the early patterns, all the early reflexes, all the early patterns, you know, and the gates where you take in and give out and all that, and it nurturing, it's helping, it's healing.
Mhm.
It's like uh, my point of view in that is that when you have a good tonus in the inside, in the core,
Mhm.
then it's easier to cope with the world.
Uh-huh.
So and I feel this is very much about relationship,
Mhm.
relation with me, with you, with the world, with the context. And continuum have the same, you know. The continuum is softening up the social nervous system,
Mhm.
and all that things is going into that, because you in continuum you work with the fluid,
Mhm.
and it's before developing the
Mhm.
nervous system.
Mhm.
So in a way you go underneath,
Mhm.
and in a way you can combine that with the fascia.
Mhm.
I think it's a very good combination. Yeah, I have to say fascia flow. But to say that, I will say I love my continuum retreats.
Mhm.
It's different. It's very different.
Mhm.
So and that's have a quality for me. There's so much. I'm home. I'm totally home there. It's not that I'm not home in fascia flow. It's just maybe continuum is a praxis for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's my, instead of meditation,
Mhm.
instead of the Buddhist meditation I did,
Mhm.
I do continuum.
Yeah.
So it's a, yeah,
Yeah.
I could say that. Yeah, I think, yeah.
I really
Right?
love how actually you found a way to bring some element of continuum in and make it maybe more accessible
Yeah,
to your audience, also to people who come to you and to your culture and to your people. And I think that's also a beautiful thing about this practice. It's a vast, almost like a way of understanding the world that kind of unique from this perspective. But
yeah,
then sometimes the gap is really hard for people to go
yeah,
from what the conditioning and their daily life into such a vast space and of connectiveness, but also it's so much space. So that
yeah,
can be scary sometimes when people don't know that, you know,
yeah,
we are connected to this vast, and so it's beautiful to find ways. And I think it's great in this community how people also are developing a unique, they can, you know, they own the continuum, it's in their body, and then and then you can propose and create new things even.
people get more curious about continuum when they have done fascia flow. They enter continuum much nicer,
Mhm.
because otherwise people can meet up and it's not them, you know.
Yeah.
And that's not nice for them or for us.
Mhm.
So I think it's a good way to get them into continuum.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Yeah.
So we will, for this video, we will put all the information about what you propose with facial flow, you know, like your website and you know, the next event, so people who are watching can, you know, discover what you propose. And I think it's fantastic. And then also your continuum retreat and all the other things, but we will put
We
all.
have just done some. We are making a Nordic Continuum club.
Right.
Yeah, we are Nordic Continuum, and we make some retreats in Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
Mhm.
And we are 3 person, Tony, me, and Amio. And then we do it. Now we have one in February
Mhm.
in Denmark on an island, and then the next one will be in Sweden.
Mhm.
And so that's what we do now. And then I have my Saturdays, but that's taught in Danish. The other one is taught in English, I think.
Mhm.
It depends on who is coming.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what else? My fashion flow, I teach it in English in Belgium right now. I make an education in it.
Mhm.
So I make the education in Belgium right now,
Mhm.
and hopefully maybe in England at one point.
Fantastic, fantastic. So we will put all the information at the end of this video, so people can find you
Yeah.
and they can get more information, contacting you by emails or things
You
like
can
that.
just put my website on, and it's in English. You can push the button in English, and people can write me
Yeah,
if it's difficult to find around. It can be a little bit
yeah.
difficult because I write it in Danish, and then it's not all the courses I have in English.
Mhm.
So but push it or write me,
Okay.
then I'll tell you.
Yes.
Is there any more questions?
Yes. Let's see how we can maybe move. So one of the question I have, but in general, and that's
Yeah.
also a personal question. In Continuum, we use sound and
Mm.
some breath.
Yeah.
And what has been your journey through the learning of the sound, and what do you feel sound do to your to your system? If you can, because I realize when I teach, or when some people are familiar with their body and movement, but when it comes to the voice or making sound, or sometimes it's almost like another world. And
Yeah.
even though, and for some people who are singers or specialists of the sound, to go into the specific sound of embodied sound, it's not so easy as well.
Oh,
So it feels like, in Continuum we are in kind of an in between space where sound has a very particular function, and where we use frequencies, but we use also the shape of the throat in ways that moves the tissues in specific ways. So what has been your experience, your learning experience, maybe in Continuum, of those sounds, and how do you personally feel it has an effect in your body?
I was, as I said, I'm a Scandinavian person, and sounding, when I met it the first time with Susan, I was totally in defense. But I find out, because I was so shocked in my body. I have worked with it, but it was still in my body. So I was like this. So I was hyper in this. So every time I said a sound, I touched this point. So of course it made all the scariness up running. So I find out that, but in a way I could feel it did something. As I said, I could feel it did something. So for me, the sounding was very scary and took long time. And then I'm not a singer. I'm as I said, I'm dyslexic on my ears. That has to say, when I sing, I can sing false or whatever. Now I hear better, but the things was, it's, yeah. So it was very provocating to me. But then I find out that I was, some of the other Continuum teachers was helping me with the sounding. Linda was helping me a lot in the rapping. So she was saying, then I tried to breathe in and breathe half out, and then I could say theta with not stopping here. So I was experiment different things. And then I was at home, I did the same, and suddenly I could feel that the sound was coming from my tissue instead of coming. So I can have very deep sounding, and I don't know where it comes from, and I cannot explain it. and sometimes it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
I had an accident where I was hurting my jaw and my teeth here. And then I had to say E. So I said E. I couldn't get it down. It was like up here where I have heard it. E. And now and after that, and I was just doing it. Then I could feel how it did something, and suddenly I could say E. Then I could get it down, so I could feel the changes. But I think what can be difficult is to explain people to explain that it's okay to play and it's okay not to say it like I do, but it's the tissue have different kind of phases and different kind of timing, and you are a different place in your life this day and this day. So I think it's very it can be very it's a tough one.
It's a process. It's really a process of finding those sound and those breath. And I love how you talked about how the tissues sing.
Yeah,
a beautiful way to put it into words.
Yeah, and also what I discovered that I have been a Buddhist for many years, and I was chanting Om Mani Padme Hum, and then when I did Continuum and the sounding, I find out that the chanting, the sounding actually have how to say it, nursed my nervous system. So when I say sounding, I can feel my nervous system is releasing or regulate itself with the sounding. So it does a lot into the tissue. I mean, not always, but mostly.
And what is your favorite breath or sound at this moment? Today, let's say today.
Today, I think it's it's difficult. Puffo.
Puffed O's.
Yeah, I just love it. But there's many sounds I love.
Yeah.
I hated in the beginning the who bread. I hated it. But now I love it. And the who bread can really do something with the bread. I mean, it's so good for the diaphragm, and it's so good for all this. So you could, yeah.
So when you work with people, what do you see in the process of that is happening when you use Continuum, when you use facial flow, or what do you see happening in through these people, if you can?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I think for my personal, I can say it for my personal stuff, I'm better to listen to my sensation and listen to my intuition and go with that. It's easier. It's much easier instead of going to my head. It's easier to stay here and come there from there to others. And I see that people get more secure in their body and like their body, get more graceful.
Beautiful.
Much more graceful.
Yeah.
And even though they're big or small or whatever, they I think they start to like their body, even it doesn't matter how it looks.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that, Jeanne. It's beautiful. I think when there is a practice that can bring some self-love and something satisfying about one's own body, it's such a beautiful healing and therapeutic.
And my people, when we do fashion flow, I always put them into some soft things first. They look beautiful, and the way they enjoy just lying there and do something, you know. It's beautiful. I think it's beautiful. And sometimes I want to film them so they can see how beautiful they are. It's nice.
Do you feel that we value enough that in our societies, in our culture?
No, no, I don't.
There is still a lot of work to do in order to bring more self-love and self-compassion into our bodies.
Yeah. I mean, if you have that, I think if you can feel yourself and the other, you know, it's about double consciousness. I mean, that's what you learn in Continuum as well. How is this and how is this and where does it go and blah, 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 and all that. Then I don't think we will have any war. I know it's very naive, but I think we will handle things better. Hopefully. It's a big objective.
Yes, one last question on this. So in Continuum, you know, like there is a very clear statement that the human body is an evolutionary process and a part of a bigger planetary process. And so the body we have now in 2019 is like that, but in 2000 or 2 million years, like, so if we're still here, what it will look like. So do you have a feeling at this moment, because it seems like we are living a particular moment, a kind of a crisis, a global crisis that I think many people feel, whether it's the change on the planet itself, the change in culture, in technology, and the change in, you know, many things. So do you feel that through Continuum, it's a sort of a way that we can, you know, I love how you described your entry from, you know, your life and then Rolfing and Continuum, almost like, wow, you got another body, or almost another presence.
I did.
Yes, you did that. And do you feel that Continuum
as well?
Yes, do that to in this particular moment, that it's maybe one of the way to engage oneself into transforming into what will be the next body we need in order to function in the future. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a very difficult question. I don't know what to say, but I can say something that make a big impression for me that Emmeline always said. How can I function? How can I keep my biosphere in this world? I cannot change the world, but how can I cope in my body in a good way to be in my biosphere and still be a living person, be a living I don't know how to say it. She said that is how can I not go into pieces and still
Yes.
And I feel that Continuum keep me together in this world and not get into pieces. Because there's a lot of pain. There's so much pain out there in any directions. I mean, war between each other, the climate, everything. But how can I stand and still be here as a person? Global.
Stay a whole instead of big fragmented. Kind of, really.
And I think that Continuum is helping me to do that. Very much.
So, Jeanne, what would you say to someone who is looking for a change, something, you know, to an improvement in their life, in their relationship to their body or themselves, and they'd like to do something and they don't exactly know how to do that? How to start, you know, what would be the first things you would tell them? Maybe not to come to a Continuum retreat of 7 days.
No. Maybe not.
But
I will look into the internet and I will look for dance somatic body work, somatic, some somatic thing, something with the body. Then I will try different kind of things, and for sure something will fit you. I mean, and but in this world, I think there's a lot of sapping. People don't stay and take the sleeves up and say, now I'm going for it, even though it's painful.
Yeah.
I mean, it was painful with Continuum for me, but I knew I follow my inner intuition that this was something I had to go for, even though I didn't understood and she was tough and blah, blah, blah. I just knew in a way. So I think it's good to try some different things.
Yeah.
To see what catch you in a way that's, I don't know. I think we all know if we listen.
It sounds, when I hear you, it sounds that anyway, when you talk about this, there is something very passionate in the way you express words about, the body and continuum and fascial flow, that there is something in this vital force that you have to be passionate or find some passion in some ways, in a way to live and be here and be present in one's life.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, go for that. What can I say? What can I say, Sylvain?
That you are passionate, that you're a passionate being. Yeah.
Yeah, I am. And I like that. And of course, what?
You love to share this passion.
Yeah, of course. Because it's from here. Yeah. I think what Continuum also learned me a lot is you have to teach for where you are. Yes. Even though you are low on energy, you show up and you have that, and you cannot hide that. And that can do something to the whole group or to me. And I mean, then you grow in it. So yeah. And to remember that and not go down the drain, it can be difficult. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jeanne, for this moment together.